So I'm making actually it's kind of like a little bit of my mom's and a little bit of my dad's tomato sauce. We're cooking for a large crowd. I'm gonna just kind of show you like my version of my parents' sauce, which is really their version of the sauce. So it starts out, I've got some oil in the pan right there. That's going. The first thing that's gonna go in, my mother always used salt pork. So I have a couple of slices of salt pork here, and that's gonna go in first. And then once that starts to render a little, I'm gonna put in the garlic and the onions. My mother never sliced them like this though. She used to slice them in like little moons. Up that pan is telling me it's just about ready for me. And then I have banana peppers, and these are chopped up. Then my dad always put these in his sauce. And I'll put all of those in, and I will also put, this is for the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, always in 3. It's the bay leaves. Those will go in. This will get saved for a little bit later. Once that is all rendered down a little bit, I'll add the tomato paste and cook that out, because that needs to be cooked before we add the sauce. But I'll walk you through it. So I'm putting in the salt pork. Now the oil is hot, so it's gonna sizzle. You're gonna hear that sizzling going on. And I'm gonna put that in and let that stir around for a little bit. Oh, look at that. So I've got my my olive oil, and I have my salt pork in here. I'm going to add the onions first, and then probably I'll add the onions and then the banana peppers, and then I'll add the garlic, because if I add the garlic too soon, it'll burn, and I don't want to do that. So come see. Want to get all that onion goodness out. There we go. Now I can turn the heat up a little. Oh, look at that. It's already smelling so good. And here come the banana peppers. See, and this kind of makes a nice little bed for the garlic so it won't burn. I may have to add a little bit more of the oil if I find that it's getting a little too dry, but I think right now we're good. And the next thing I'm going to add are my 3 bay leaves. My mother always added 3. She always added them for the Trinity. There we go. So now this is gonna cook down some, get nice and translucent and a little soft, and then I will be adding the tomato paste. Hello there. So in this pot, and I want you to come over and take a nice look in here, because I'm gonna add the tomato paste in a few minutes. So I have my bay leaves, I have the salt pork, which is smelling so beautiful. There is garlic, banana pepper, and onions. And now I'm gonna add the tomato paste. And I need to add the tomato paste now because I need to cook it. It's gotta be cooked down. My mother used to call this la conserve. Like really what it is like concentrated tomatoes, obviously. And this really needs to cook down before I start adding. All right, I'm gonna keep mixing this. It's gonna cook. And once I feel like it's ready, then I'll start adding some other things. So now I'm getting ready to get the tomatoes to go into the sauce. So now I've washed my hands. You can use one of the those little pulsers that break apart these are plum tomatoes. But we just like to, my mother always did it by hand. And so I'm just gonna literally go through here and squeeze and crush them myself. But you don't have to do it this way if you don't. I just find it a lot easier. I like getting my hands in there. And that's all I'm doing is going in, and I'm gonna try to get every one, and I'm usually pretty good about that. But these are the plum tomatoes, the Roma tomatoes in juice. And then this here is passata. So there's four bottles of passata there. And these are the 2 really big cans of the cento. Whoops, look, I'm getting it all over the place here, see? And if you use those other little, the emulsifiers that we have them, but I just prefer to do it this way. So I'm gonna prepare these because in a few minutes we're gonna go and get all this stuff going in the sauce. So I added a little bit of water to that tomato paste. You want to come take a peek? Look at that. And that is, now it's cooked. That tomato paste is, that freshness, or the tinny can is out, it's gone, and it's all there. Now what I'm going to start doing is adding my tomatoes. And at first I'm going to add it pretty gently because I don't want to have tomatoes all over the place. So as you saw before, I cut those up. I just want to get the bulk of what's in here out. And then I'll put that in, I'll mix it all up. And then we're gonna add parsley and some basil leaves, because I know some people add different things. They might add baking soda or a carrot or something to kill the acidity. There's all different things that people do use, or sugar. Some people add sugar to their sauce. I don't add sugar. Because I think this is going to make a pretty hearty, decent sauce, as it is. Because it's really just not a meat sauce, except for, of course, the, let's see if I can get this in here. Let me pull that out. There we go. Make it a little easier. So I can get the pan in there, so I don't get it all over the place, which I kind of did a little, but not too bad. And I'm going to rinse this out with some water. I'm gonna get all that goodness. Can't leave that in the pan. All right. And now comes the passata, which is really just concentrated tomatoes. That's what a lot of people who do when they can do the canning and they do their tomatoes. They put in those glass jars, the mason jars, however you do it. They're making really passata. And here we go. And we're going to put this right in. So this is just a little more concentrated tomato. And of course, like the other, we need to get some water in there and get all that goodness. And I'm going to use this ladle here to, there we go. Oh, look at that. That's awesome. Now, gonna mix it up, just to get a good mix on this. I'm not adding any salt or anything other at this point, other than the fresh herbs that I've already got in here. We'll get to that later. I don't typically add oregano to my sauce, but what's coming in next is going to be my basil. And again, like the Trinity, 3 little fronds of basil, and then some fresh parsley. Now my mom her parsley was always an actual sprig of parsley. She'd put a few sprigs in there. She didn't ever really chop it up and put it in like this, but I like it chopped. in there, especially when I'm serving it to other people, because I don't want them to be, and I'll pull out, once the sauce is done and once I get it where it's going, I'm going to be pulling out those bay leaves, and I will pull out the basil leaves. Everything else will stay, but the basil and the bay leaves will come out. And this, my friends, is basically the sauce. Now it's got to cook for a little while, and so it's going to sit here, it's going to simmer for a while.